AITA for letting the lawyer expose my brother's secret at Mom's Will Reading? My name is Nora. I'm 28, and I rent a tiny one-bedroom above a dentist's office in suburban Pennsylvania, where the pipes knock every time someone downstairs washes their hands. I work as a claims coordinator for an insurance company, which is just a fancy way of saying I spend 40 hours a week telling people what paperwork they forgot to attach. My older brother, Mason, has always been the family success story, the one my mom bragged about in grocery store checkout lines, while I was the reliable one who picked up prescriptions, reset passwords, and showed up when everyone else was too slammed. I didn't mind it most days. I had my routines, my burnt coffee, my clearance rack cardigans, and a cat named Pickle who judged me from the windowsill like she paid rent. In my family, Mason's mistakes were plot twists. Mine were character flaws. When Mason dropped out of college, Mom said he was brave for refusing to waste his life on something that didn't inspire him. When I took community college night classes while working full-time at a call center, she said she was glad I had realistic expectations. Mason's landscaping business, which lasted 2 summers and mostly produced hoodies with his logo on them, was a learning curve. My steady job with health insurance was not glamorous but dependable. Dependable became my family name long before anyone said it out loud. When Mom got sick, that label turned into a schedule. I had her pharmacy app on my phone, her insurance portal bookmarked, and a color-coded medication chart taped inside one of her kitchen cabinets. I knew which nurse called back fast and which office assistant needed 2 voicemails before she moved anything along. I knew Mom liked ginger ale with extra ice after treatment and hated when anyone called her sweetie in a medical office. Mason visited too, but his visits had the glow of a commercial. He brought soup from a place with a chalkboard menu and a label tied around the jar with twine. I brought the anti-nausea meds he forgot to pick up. He posted a photo of himself holding Mom's hand with the caption "Family First." I took out the bathroom trash after he left and rinsed the sink because Mom was embarrassed. Aunt Paula, Mom's younger sister, always praised Mason for keeping her spirits up. "He's so good with her," Paula would say while I stood there with a Walmart bag full of prescriptions cutting into my fingers. I would smile because that was what I did. Smiling kept things moving. Smiling meant nobody had to deal with me having a feeling. Mom died on a gray Tuesday morning in March, just before sunrise. I was at her house because her breathing had changed overnight and the hospice nurse had warned me what that meant. Mason arrived 40 minutes after I called him. His hair was wet from the shower, and he smelled like expensive body wash. He cried. I'm not saying he didn't. Mason loved Mom in his way, which was the only way he knew how to love anyone. Loudly when there was an audience, selectively when there wasn't. The funeral home had beige carpet and lamps that looked like they came from a hotel lobby in 1998. People hugged me with one arm while balancing paper plates of baked ziti in the other. Someone brought grocery store cookies with pastel icing. A cousin I hadn't seen in 3 years told me, "Your mom was so proud of Mason," then patted my shoulder like she remembered I existed. After the service, we went back to Mom's house. The split level on Maple Ridge Lane had recycling bins at the curb, a cracked bird bath near the walkway, and nosy neighbors who pretended they weren't looking through their blinds. Inside, the kitchen smelled like coffee, foil trays, and too many people wearing too much perfume. I was standing by the sink, rinsing a serving spoon because nobody else seemed to notice the sauce drying on it, when Paula cornered me. "Honey," she said, pressing her hand to her chest like she was about to deliver bad medical news, "we need to be thoughtful about the house." I looked at the spoon in my hand. "Today. I know it feels soon. But your mother wouldn't want paperwork turning you two against each other." Behind her, Mason was in the living room with Uncle Ray and 2 cousins, talking about how the Phillies looked this year. He had a beer in one hand and his phone in the other. "What paperwork?" I asked. Paula lowered her voice. "Mason will handle the house. He understands the bigger decisions. You know your mother always worried about you getting overwhelmed." That was not true. Mom worried about Mason getting disappointed. She worried about me getting inconvenient. Paula slid a folder against my purse on the counter. It was pale blue, the kind you buy in a 5-pack at Staples. Just something simple. It keeps probate from getting messy. I dried my hands slowly on a dish towel. The old Nora would have said okay before opening it because grief makes people want instructions. But I spent my working life reading forms people swore were simple. I knew enough about paperwork to know nobody rushes you into signing something harmless. I'll look at it later, I said. Paula's smile tightened. Don't wait too long. Mason's been under a lot of pressure. I almost laughed. We were standing in Mom's kitchen 2 hours after burying her, and somehow Mason was the fragile one. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my car outside my apartment with a cold bag of drive-thru fries in my lap. I hadn't eaten all day, but my stomach felt like a fist. The dentist's office below me was dark. Across the street, a laundromat sign flickered like it was also exhausted. Pickle screamed at me when I came upstairs, then forgave me after half a can of salmon pate. I changed into sweatpants, washed my face, and opened Paula's folder at my tiny kitchen table. The first page was a quitclaim deed. There were pastel sticky notes where I was supposed to sign. One on the signature line. One by the notary section. One on a page marked Exhibit A, describing Mom's property. Nothing says family like a pastel sticky note pointing to the place where you erase yourself. I read it twice, then a third time because my brain kept trying to soften what my eyes were seeing. The document said I would give up any claim or interest I might have in the house on Maple Ridge Lane. It did not say simple. It did not say temporary. It did not say to keep peace. It said I would step aside. My phone buzzed. Mason, can we not make this harder than it needs to be? I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen. Another one came in. Mason, Mom and I already discussed this. She wanted me to have the house. I'm trying to keep things respectful. Then the family group chat lit up. Paula, your mom trusted you both to do the loving thing, Red Heart. Cousin Brenda, I don't want to get involved, but this is sad. Mason, Nora, don't turn this into one of your little paperwork power trips. My face got hot. That was how Mason did it. He threw a word like little in front of something I was good at until it sounded pathetic. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Then I opened a private text to Elise, my coworker and closest friend, and sent her a photo of the first page. She called me in less than 10 seconds. Please tell me you did not sign that, she said before I even said hello. I didn't. Good. Do not sign it. I know. No, you know, in your claims coordinator brain. I need you to know in your daughter brain. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the ceiling stain above my refrigerator, the one shaped vaguely like Florida. They're acting like Mom already decided. Then the decision can survive you reading the document first. I feel gross. You feel trained, Elise said. Different thing. In the morning, I replied in the group chat. Me. I'm going to review everything with the estate attorney before signing any documents. Mason answered almost immediately. Mason, of course you are. Paula followed with a heart emoji and the kind of sentence that wears church clothes to a knife fight. Paula. Honey, don't make your mother's memory about money. I didn't respond. I made burnt coffee, fed pickle, and called the law office listed on one of Mom's old folders. Whitaker and Bell Estate Planning. Their office was in a small brick building between a credit union and a physical therapy clinic. The receptionist put me on hold to music that sounded like it came free with the phone system. When she came back, she said, Mr. Whitaker can see you Thursday at 10 a.m. All interested parties were already scheduled for that time. All? I asked. Yes. You, Mason, Paula, and Raymond. I wrote it down on the back of an electric bill. My hand shook a little. On Thursday, I arrived 20 minutes early because being anxious has always made me punctual. The waiting room had framed Bar Association certificates, a Keurig machine, and a stack of magazines old enough to include holiday cookie ideas from 2 years ago. A fake fern sat in the corner, gathering dust with dignity. Grant Whitaker came out himself. He was mid-40s, calm in the way some people are calm because they charge in 6-minute increments. He wore a navy suit, no tie, and glasses with thin black frames. Nora, he said. I'm Grant Whitaker. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. He shook my hand and looked me in the eye, which nearly undid me because everyone else had been looking around me, through me, or over my shoulder for Mason. I understand your aunt provided you with a document, he said quietly. I froze. She did. Did you sign it? No. Good. He glanced toward the conference room. Your mother was very clear that you were to hear everything before anyone asked you for a signature. The sentence landed somewhere behind my ribs. Before I could ask what he meant, the front door opened and Mason walked in like he owned the building. Paula followed, wearing a black cardigan and carrying a purse big enough to hold a weekend's worth of denial. Uncle Ray trailed behind them. Ray had married Paula when I was 10. He was a quiet man with kind eyes who usually handled family tension by checking the weather on his phone. Mason gave me a bright, flat smile. There she is, I said. Morning. Let's just get through the formalities, Mason said, smiling like we were waiting for a table at brunch. He had a manila folder on his lap when we sat down in the conference room. He kept tapping it with 2 fingers. Tap, 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 like a countdown. Grant sat at the head of the table. In front of him were 2 envelopes. One was white, thick, and already opened. The other was blue, sealed with Mom's handwriting across the front. Nora only after the will. My throat tightened. Grant folded his hands. Before we begin, I want everyone to understand that I represent the estate and previously represented Diane in her estate planning. I do not represent any individual beneficiary. If anyone feels they need independent counsel, they should seek it. Mason waved a hand. Sure. We understand. Paula nodded solemnly. We're family. We don't want this to be ugly. Grant looked at her for 1 extra second. Then we'll proceed carefully. He read the will in a steady voice. Personal belongings were to be divided equally between Mason and me, with disputes resolved by sale if necessary. Mom's checking account would pay final expenses and remaining medical bills. Her small savings account was split evenly. Mason kept tapping the folder until Grant reached the house. The real property located at 214 Maple Ridge Lane shall not pass outright to either child, Grant read. It shall be transferred into the Diane Family Residence Trust, with Nora serving as trustee for a period of 5 years. The tapping stopped. Mason sat up. That can't be right. Grant did not blink. It is the executed version. No, Mason said. Mom and I already discussed this. She wanted me handling the house. Paula put a hand on his arm. Grant, Diane was very clear with us. I'm sure Diane had many conversations, Grant said. This document controls. Mason's jaw tightened. What exactly does this trust do? Grant turned a page. The house may be maintained, rented, repaired, or sold only according to the trust terms. During the 5-year period, Nora has authority as trustee to manage the property. Mason is not disinherited from all estate assets, but he does not receive title to the house. Paula made a soft sound. That doesn't sound like Diane. Something in me cracked at that. Not broke. Cracked open enough for air to get in. Grant looked at Mason's folder. Mason, did you bring the deed Diane refused to sign? The room went so still I could hear the Keurig gurgle in the waiting area. Mason's face changed. Not dramatically. He didn't gasp or slam the table. The confidence simply drained from his eyes and left something smaller and meaner behind. Mr. Whitaker, he said, suddenly formal, I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Grant said. I'm asking whether you brought the deed Diane refused to execute. Paula's hand slipped off Mason's sleeve. Uncle Ray looked up from his lap. I turned toward Mason. What deed? Mason gave a short laugh. This is ridiculous. Mom was going to sign the house over to me. She wanted it kept in the family. It is being kept in the family, Grant said. You know what I mean. I know what the signed documents say. Mason leaned forward. She was sick. She got confused. She changed her mind all the time. Grant's voice stayed even. Diane anticipated that argument. He picked up the blue envelope. My name in Mom's handwriting stared back at me. The letters were shakier than they used to be, but I knew the slope of the N the way she made the O too narrow. I remembered that handwriting on lunch notes when I was little, on grocery lists stuck to the fridge, on reminders taped to the back door that said, take umbrella, even when the forecast was clear. Grant broke the seal. I am authorized to read this aloud in full, he said, unless Nora objects. Everyone looked at me. For once, I didn't look to see what Mason wanted. Read it, I said. Grant unfolded several pages. Nora, he began, And hearing Mom's words in his voice was so strange I pressed my nails into my palm to stay still. If you are hearing this, it means I did what I should have done years ago, even if I did it late. I am sorry for that. I made your brother easy to excuse and made you easy to rely on. I called that love because it was convenient for me. My eyes burned. Grant continued. I taught you to be useful because I was too weak to teach your brother to be decent. That is not fair to either of you, but it was cruelest to you. Mason made a noise. This is messed up. Grant held up one hand without looking at him. I know people may say you influenced me because you were with me most near the end. The truth is that you were with me because you showed up. You did not ask for the house. You did not ask for anything. That is why I had to make sure no one could take advantage of your silence after I was gone. Paula whispered. Diane. Grant read on. After my Thursday treatments, I was often foggy. I remember more than some people think I do. Mason and Paula came to me with papers. They told me signing would make things easier. They told me Nora would understand. They told me I was creating conflict by waiting. I said no. More than once. My heart was beating so hard I felt it in my fingers. Grant placed the letter down and picked up another page from the envelope. Diane also preserved text messages and an audio recording, he said. She instructed me to disclose them if anyone challenged the trust, attempted to obtain Nora's signature on a waiver, or represented that a transfer had been completed. Mason pushed back from the table. That's private. Grant looked at him. It was Diane's. Paula's face had gone pale under her makeup. Grant slid copies across the table. I saw a text from Paula to Mason. Do it after Thursday. She's always foggy after Thursday. Another from Mason. If she signs before Nora gets in her ear, we're good. And another. Nora will fold if we make her feel selfish. For a few seconds I couldn't read anymore. The words blurred, then sharpened again. Elise's voice came back to me. You feel trained, Grant said. Your mother preserved these because she feared this exact meeting. Mason stood. This is taken out of context. What context makes that better? I asked. My voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Mason looked at me like I had spoken out of turn at my own life. You don't understand the pressure I was under. There it was again. Mason's pressure. Mason's dreams. Mason's future. The rest of us were furniture arranged around the room of his life. What pressure? I asked. The landscaping debt? The gym supplement thing? The app you said was in beta but was really a website with a wait list. His eyes flashed. Don't. Grant's gaze moved from Mason to the folder. Do you have the deed with you? Mason grabbed the manila folder and held it tighter. I'm leaving, Grant said. I'll note your refusal to answer. That made Mason pause. Legal language had a way of making everyday panic put on shoes. Paula stood too. This is grief. Everyone is emotional. Diane wouldn't want accusations. No, I said, surprising myself. She apparently wanted documentation. Uncle Ray looked at Paula. Did you know about this? Paula's mouth opened and closed. I was trying to help. Help who? He asked. She looked away. The meeting ended with Mason storming out, Paula following him, and Uncle Ray lingering by the door like a man who had just realized the floor in his own house wasn't level. Grant gave me copies of everything I was entitled to receive. He explained the trust in normal person language because I asked him to. The house had to be preserved for 5 years unless specific conditions made sale necessary. There was a maintenance account Mom had funded quietly from a life insurance payout after my grandmother died. It wasn't huge, but it covered taxes, insurance, and urgent repairs. I was trustee, which meant I had responsibilities, not a blank check. Mason could receive a future share from certain assets if he complied with the estate terms, but interference, coercion, or misappropriation could affect distributions. I wrote notes with a free bank pen from the cup on Grant's table because my hands were shaking too much to type. So what do I do today? I asked. Do not sign anything provided by Mason or Paula, Grant said. Do not discuss estate matters with them directly if they are pressuring you. Preserve all messages. If you choose to serve as trustee, we will prepare the acceptance paperwork. Once that is in place, you'll have authority to secure the property. Secure it like. Locks, inventory, insurance notification. Document everything. I nodded. Documentation I could do. Documentation was my native language. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and cried for exactly 7 minutes. Then I wiped my face with a napkin from my glove box and bought fries from the drive-thru across the street because grief had apparently become a potato-based condition. Mason texted before I got home. Mason, you looked real proud of yourself in there. Then, Mason, Mom was sick and you know it. Then, Mason, you're going to regret making me the bad guy. I sent one reply. Me. All communication about the estate needs to go through Mr. Whitaker. Mason, wow. Mason. Lawyer talk now? I did not answer. That was harder than it sounds. Not answering Mason felt like holding a door closed while someone pushed from the other side. Every old reflex in me wanted to explain, soften, apologize, make him understand that I wasn't trying to hurt him. But the text from the blue envelope sat on my passenger seat in a neat stack, and one sentence kept glowing in my mind. Nora will fold. I did not fold. 2 days later, Mrs. Alvarez from across the street texted me a photo. Honey, is Mason supposed to be at your mom's house? In the photo, Mason's truck was backed into Mom's driveway. The tailgate was down. A cardboard box sat near the garage. I called Grant's office from my desk so fast I forgot to lower my voice. My coworker from accounting glanced over the cubicle wall, saw my face, and immediately disappeared back down. Grant called me back within 10 minutes. Have you accepted trusteeship? He asked. I signed the paperwork yesterday. Then you have authority to secure the property. Do not confront him alone. If he is actively removing items, you can request assistance documenting the situation. I'll send a written notice today. I called Elise. I'm coming with you, she said. You're at work. So are you. We're both about to be sick. We met at Mom's house 40 minutes later. Elise pulled up behind me in her dented Honda, wearing black slacks, a sweater, and the expression she used when a customer service representative tried to upsell her. Mason was in the garage sliding a box toward his truck. It was labeled Dad's Tools, which was interesting because our father had been gone since I was 12 and had never owned anything in Mom's house after the divorce except a fishing pole he left in the basement and forgot. What are you doing? I asked. Mason straightened. Getting my stuff. That box isn't yours. He snorted. You don't know what's mine. I walked over and opened the top flap. Inside were Mom's silverware set, the small jewelry box from her dresser, and a stack of vinyl records she used to play on Sunday mornings. Elise lifted her phone and started recording, not dramatically, just clearly. Mason pointed at her. Turn that off. No, she said. I looked at him. Put it back. You are unbelievable. Put it back, Mason. He shoved the box with his foot, not hard enough to damage anything but hard enough to make a point. You get a little power and suddenly you're Queen of Maple Ridge. No, I said. I got legal responsibility because Mom knew you'd do this. His face reddened. For a second, I thought he might yell loud enough for the neighbors to come outside. Instead, he grabbed his keys from the workbench and walked past me. You can have her dusty house, he said. Enjoy being alone in it. He drove off with the truck bed empty. My knees felt weak after he left, but I didn't sit down. Elise and I moved the box back inside. Then we walked room to room taking pictures. The ceramic rooster on top of the fridge. Mom's coupon binder in the pantry. The junk drawer full of batteries, tape, old keys, and rubber bands. Mason's dusty baseball trophies still lined up in the den like a shrine to a boy who hadn't lived there in 15 years. My high school debate certificate was in a plastic storage bin under the basement stairs. Of course, Elise said when I showed her. I took a picture of that too. A locksmith came that afternoon. He was a cheerful man named Tony who told me his aunt had gone through a whole thing with her stepsons after his uncle passed. Everyone apparently had a probate story. After he left, I stood in Mom's entryway holding the new keys. The house sounded different without the old lock sticking. Or maybe I did. For the next 2 weeks, I lived in a cycle of work, paperwork, and fast food I regretted 10 minutes after eating. I notified the insurance company. I opened a trustee account with Grant's guidance. I made a spreadsheet of household items, repairs, utilities, and estate deadlines. I forwarded Mason's text to Grant without comment. That part gave me a tiny petty satisfaction. I didn't engage. I attached. Paula tried a different approach. She left me a voicemail in a voice so soft it made my skin itch. Nora, honey, this has gone too far. Your mom loved both of you. Mason is hurt. We all are. Maybe we can sit down like a family and remember what matters. I deleted it, then recovered it because Grant had told me not to delete anything. I saved it in a folder called Estate. Then I renamed the folder Maple Ridge because Estate made my stomach hurt every time I saw it. Uncle Ray called me once. I don't want to stir anything up, he said. I stood in my kitchen, watching Pickle attempt to fit her entire body into a shoebox. Okay. He sighed. Paula says the texts look worse than they are. What do you think? There was a long pause. I think I should have asked more questions. It wasn't an apology exactly, but it was the first honest sentence I had heard from that side of the family in weeks. Then Paula arranged dinner. She sent a group text to me, Mason, Uncle Ray, 2 cousins, and my mother's old friend Karen from church, which was a strategic choice because Karen could make disappointment feel like a casserole ingredient. Paula, I'm making meatloaf Sunday. I think we need a peaceful meal. Diane would hate this division. Mason, I'll be there. Cousin Brenda, I can come after the kids' soccer. Karen, praying for healing. I stared at the messages while sitting in my parked car outside CVS, where I had just picked up my own allergy medication and accidentally walked to the pharmacy counter out of habit, ready to say Mom's date of birth. Elise called as soon as I sent her a screenshot. Absolutely not, she said. I think I should go. No, Nora. I don't mean to make peace. I think they're going to say something useful if they think they have an audience. That is the most claims coordinator sentence anyone has ever said. I have the recording from Grant. Are you allowed to play it? Grant said I can disclose it if they keep accusing me or misrepresenting what happened. Then eat before you go, Elise said. Never walk into an ambush hungry. So I ate a peanut butter sandwich in my apartment while Pickle stared at me like she was my attorney, and I was disappointing her. Paula's house was a ranch with plastic flowers on the porch and a welcome mat that said bless this mess, which felt a little on the nose. When I walked in, the smell of meatloaf hit me first, then the silence. Everyone was already there. Mason stood by the fireplace, arms crossed. Paula was setting a bowl of mashed potatoes on the table, like we were about to have a normal Sunday dinner. Uncle Ray sat at the far end, rubbing his thumb along the edge of his water glass. Brenda gave me a nervous smile. Karen patted the chair next to her. We're just here because we love you, Paula said, which is what people say when they've already picked a side. I sat down. Okay. The first 10 minutes were fake polite. Someone asked about work. Someone mentioned the weather. Paula complimented my sweater even though I'd worn it to Thanksgiving 3 years in a row, and she had once called it practical. Then Mason put down his fork. This is stupid, he said. We all know why we're here. Paula murmured. Mason. No, I'm tired of pretending. He looked at me. You need to stop hiding behind the lawyer and admit what you did. I placed my napkin on my lap because my hands needed a job. What did I do? You manipulated Mom. The room seemed to inhale. Mason's voice got stronger with the attention. That had always been his gift. Give him a room and he could turn confidence into evidence. You were alone with her all the time, he said. You handled her meds, her appointments, her calls. Who knows what you put in her head? Karen looked down at her plate. Brenda whispered. Mason, maybe don't. No, he said. Everyone's thinking it. I'm just saying it. Mom wanted me to have the house. She said it for years. Then suddenly at the end, Nora's in charge of everything. Heat crawled up my neck, but I kept my voice even. I didn't write the trust. You didn't have to. You just hovered until she felt guilty. Paula's eyes were wet. I couldn't tell if the tears were real or convenient. Honey, nobody is saying you meant harm, but grief and fear can make people cling. Your mother may have felt pressured by how much you were doing for her. That was a neat trick. My care had become evidence against me. Uncle Ray looked at Paula. Careful. Mason laughed. Now you're on her side? Ray's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. Mason turned back to me. You always do this. You act quiet but you control everything. The appointments, the paperwork, the passwords. You made yourself necessary and then acted like a victim. For a moment I saw every version of myself at once. 12-year-old Nora packing her own lunch because mom was on the phone with Mason's principal. 19-year-old Nora taking the bus to class because Mason needed the car for networking. 27-year-old Nora sleeping in mom's recliner after treatment, while Mason's Instagram story said, "Cherish your people." I wanted to scream. Instead I took out my phone. Paula noticed first. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to play something." Mason rolled his eyes. "Of course. More lawyer theater." "No," I said. "Mom." The room changed around that word. I opened the audio file Grant had sent me through a secure link. My thumb shook once, then steadied. I pressed play. At first there was rustling, then mom's tired voice. I said, "No, Mason." My whole body went cold. Hearing her like that, not from memory but from a speaker, felt like finding a light on in a house you thought was empty. Mason's recorded voice followed, lower than his dinner table voice. "Mom, you're making this harder than it needs to be. It's a deed. It keeps the house safe." Then Paula, unmistakable. "Nora doesn't need the burden. She gets overwhelmed. You know that." Mom coughed. "Nora handles everything." "That's what I mean," Paula said in the recording. "She'll feel obligated, and then she'll make it complicated." Mason said, "If we get this done, I can handle the property refinance, clean up a few things, and everyone moves on." Mom's voice was faint but clear. "Refinance for what?" A pause. Mason said, "Business stuff. Temporary." Then Paula again. Sharper than I had ever heard her in public. "Diane, listen to me. Sign it after treatment Thursday. We'll bring the notary. Nora will fold. She always folds when you look disappointed." In Paula's dining room nobody moved. The recording continued. Mom said, "No." Mason sighed. "You're confused." "No," Mom said. "I'm tired." "That's different." I stopped the recording there. Not because there wasn't more, but because there didn't need to be. The silence after was bigger than any yelling would have been. Uncle Ray stood slowly. He looked at Paula like he didn't recognize the woman at the other end of the table. "Paula," he said. "Tell me that isn't you." Paula's mouth trembled. "You don't understand. I was scared." "Of what?" She looked at Mason, then away. Ray's voice hardened. "Of what?" Paula sank into her chair. Mason said he was going to sell his truck, maybe lose the business. He said if the house was in his name, he could stabilize things. And he said if he got the house, I could stay in the suite after I sold my condo. I was behind. I didn't know what else to do. Brenda pushed her chair back. "Are you serious?" Karen whispered. "Oh, Paula." Mason pointed at me. "She had that ready. You see? She came here planning this." "Yes," I said. "Because I'm done being surprised by people who plan against me." His face twisted. "You think you won?" "No," I said. "I think Mom said no. And you all heard it." Mason looked around the room for rescue. He looked at Paula, but she was crying into her napkin. He looked at Ray, but Ray's eyes were fixed on the table. He looked at Brenda and Karen, but they both looked away. For the first time in my life, Mason lost the room. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair. "Keep the house. Keep the ugly furniture. Keep pretending you're the good one." He left so fast the front door bounced against the wall. Paula started sobbing after that, but the sound didn't pull me toward her. That surprised me. Usually, someone crying near me activated a switch. Fix it. Smooth it. Bring water. Say it's okay even when it isn't. I stood. "Nora," Paula said, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. "I hope you get help with your condo situation," I said. "But not through Mom's house. Not through me." Then I left. Outside, the air smelled like cut grass in someone's dryer vent. I sat in my car with both hands on the steering wheel until Uncle Ray came out and tapped on my window. I rolled it down. "I'm sorry," he said. I nodded. I didn't tell him it was okay. It wasn't. But I accepted the sentence for what it was. The consequences were not dramatic in the way movies make consequences dramatic. No one was let out of a room. No one made a tearful courtroom confession. The punishment wasn't a police cruiser in the driveway. It was certified mail. Grant sent formal notices. Mason hired his own attorney, who sent one aggressive letter and then a much calmer one after receiving copies of the texts, the recording, and the attempted removal documentation from the garage. The estate's no contest and misconduct provisions did not erase Mason from existence, but they did block the immediate distribution he had expected and limited his ability to challenge the trust without risking more. He stopped texting me directly after Grant's second notice. Paula had to provide an accounting for money she had taken from one of Mom's accounts during the last months of Mom's illness. She had called them house expenses. Some were legitimate. A plumber. Groceries. A pharmacy copay. Others were payments toward her condo arrears and a credit card bill. Grant's office handled it with a repayment agreement that sounded boring on paper and humiliating in real life. Ray moved into the guest room for a while. I heard that from Brenda, who sent me a long apology text full of commas and regret. Karen dropped off a note at Mom's house saying she had been wrong to attend that dinner without knowing the facts. I appreciated it, though I didn't invite her in. Mason's situation came out in pieces because family secrets never really stay secret. They just change rooms. His newest business had debt he had hidden behind confident words like expansion and bridge financing. He sold his truck by summer. He moved in with a friend near Lancaster and started posting motivational quotes about betrayal and resilience. I muted him, which felt healthier than blocking him and less satisfying than I wanted. As for the house, I did what the trust required, not what everyone expected. I didn't move in right away. At first, I couldn't stand being there for more than an hour. Every room had a version of Mom in it. Her reading glasses on the side table. Her old grocery lists in a drawer. The dent in the carpet where Mason's trophy shelf had stood for years. The basement freezer with 3 containers of soup from women who never once asked who would eat them. So I rented the house for a year to a young couple with a baby and a very polite dog. The rent covered taxes, insurance, and repairs. The maintenance account handled the roof patch and the ancient water heater that chose the coldest week of January to retire. I kept clean records. I sent updates through the proper channels. I became the kind of trustee Grant probably prayed for. Boring, documented, and allergic to drama. During that year, I kept living above the dentist's office. The pipes still knocked. Pickles still judged. I still worked claims and told people gently but firmly that no, a screenshot of a receipt was not the same as the required form. But something in me had shifted. Not into a shinier person. Not into someone who suddenly loved confrontation. I still hated conflict. I still rehearsed phone calls before making them. I still bought cardigans from clearance racks. The difference was that I stopped confusing discomfort with danger. When the tenants moved out the following spring, I walked through the empty house with a notebook and a cup of gas station coffee. Sunlight came through the front windows and landed on the hardwood in long rectangles. Without Mom's furniture, the rooms looked smaller but also less heavy. I donated most of Mason's trophies. That sounds petty, but I checked the trust terms, asked Grant, and waited the required period for personal property claims. Mason never requested them. He wanted the house, not the proof of who he used to be. I kept one of Mom's ugly ceramic roosters. It was ridiculous, with a red comb, a chipped beak, and a painted expression like it had just overheard gossip at church. For years I hated that rooster. It sat on top of the fridge collecting grease dust while Mom insisted it was country charming. When I packed the kitchen, I wrapped it in newspaper and put it in a box marked keep before I could talk myself out of it. I donated the rest of the rooster army. Mom had 7. One was enough for grief. I painted the den first. That was the room where Mason's trophies had lived, where every school photo of him had been framed while mine sat in envelopes in the hall closet. I chose a soft green because I liked it, not because it matched anything. Elise came over in old jeans, and we ate pizza on the floor between coats. "This room already looks less smug," she said. I laughed so hard I got paint on my sock. By summer I moved in. Not all at once. I brought boxes slowly from the apartment above the dentist's office. Books first. Then dishes. Then Pickle, who marched out of her carrier, sniffed the living room, and immediately claimed a sunny patch on the floor like she had closed on the place herself. The first morning I woke up there, I made coffee in Mom's kitchen. My kitchen technically, though that word still felt new. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft tick of the old wall clock. No pipes knocking from downstairs. No dental patients laughing under my floor. Just maple leaves moving outside the window and Pickle crunching food from her bowl. I opened the junk drawer and found one of Mom's grocery lists stuck behind the organizer. Milk. Bananas. Foil. Nora likes cinnamon tea. I stood there for a while with the paper in my hand. Mom had loved me. I believed that. She had also used me. Both things can be true, which is inconvenient and painful and more honest than pretending one cancels out the other. Her letter did not erase years of being the dependable child. The trust did not magically make our family fair. But near the end, when she could no longer hide from the pattern she helped build, she used what power she had left to stop it from continuing after her. That mattered. I never got a real apology from Mason. I don't expect one. People like Mason can apologize for outcomes, for being misunderstood, for how things got handled, but rarely for the belief underneath it all, that other people's lives are backup accounts for their own. Paula sent me a birthday card that year with a $10 coffee gift card inside. She wrote, "I hope someday we can talk." I put the gift card in my wallet and the card in a drawer. Someday is not the same as yes. Uncle Ray checks in every few months. Usually he asks about the house, then about me, in that order, but he asks. Brenda came by once with cookies and apologized again in my doorway. I let her in. Not because I needed her approval, but because she seemed to understand that being let in was not the same as being forgiven on demand. The trust still has rules. The estate still has paperwork. There are days I find some new reminder of Mom and have to sit down. There are days I walk past the green den and feel a clean little spark of satisfaction. I turned the room into an office with a second-hand desk, a real filing cabinet, and one framed photo of me and Mom from a beach trip when I was 9. In the picture, my hair is tangled from the wind and Mom is laughing at something outside the frame. No Mason trophies. No shrine. No room arranged around who mattered more. One night in late August, I sat on the living room floor sorting old photos into piles. Keep. Scan. Toss. Pickle slept in her sunny patch even though the sun had moved hours ago, loyal to the memory of warmth. The ceramic rooster watched from the bookshelf, still ugly, still somehow surviving. My phone buzzed with a notification from the family group chat. For a second, my shoulders tightened. Then I saw it was just Brenda asking who had Mom's cranberry sauce recipe. I didn't rush to answer. I finished taping a box. I took a sip of tea. I watched Pickle twitch in her sleep. Then I typed, "I have it. I'll send a picture tomorrow." Tomorrow. Not immediately. Not because everyone needed me. Not because silence made me selfish. Because I could help without disappearing. I used to think being dependable meant never becoming a problem. Now I know it means I can depend on myself. And for the first time, the house on Maple Ridge Lane feels less like a prize someone won, and more like a place where I'm allowed to take up space. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.